Well, hello and welcome to a cookie corner of YouTube. Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. My desk is full of cats. It's a catastrophe. No, that was bad. Don't applaud that one. That was a bad one. So yes, today I am going to take you through a tutorial on how to make yourself a little cat cushion. And as you can see, I've got quite a few here. We've got this heart one. We've got the one with stars. We got the one with flowers. We've got another flowery one in different colours. I have one with bats. I have one with pumpkins. And yeah, lots of cats basically. So what I'm going to do is to give you the pattern for these, which I shall put up, but also I'm going to take you through a quick tutorial on how I put them together. So if you're interested in looking at how to make your very own Kooky Kat, stick around. So to make your Kooky Kat, you are going to need some of the beauteous fabric that as a 60s and 70s child I loved to death and still love, and it is felt. Now this particular felt is by a company called Paper and String, who I buy all my felt from because it is awesome and because they're just so lovely, and really helpful as well. If you need to ask them a question, you know, they're really good. But yeah, Paper and String, any way you can get felt, but I suggest you use a wool felt blend, and the wool felt blend that I use is a 40% wool, I think it's 60% rayon, I don't know, but something like that. But from Paper and String, they handily give you all these little cards. Well, they don't give them to you, you can request them so that you've got a set of all the different colours that they do, and they do lots. And you can pick out your favourite colours, or you use what you've got, because I always advocate that you use what you have before you buy something new. So using what you have, unless it's the colours that you don't want, is a way forward. But I do recommend Paper and String because they are excellent. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, just thought I'd let you know. It's just somewhere that I actually do get mine from. And they come quite handily in these mini rolls. They're kind of like a roll of, I think it's 12 inches or something like that. Let me measure it for you. Yeah, it's 12 inches, but it comes on like a roll. It's quite a bit you get in a roll to use as well. You can also buy these in 12-inch squares if you don't want to buy yourself a whole load and you want different colours and what have you. You can buy felt in 12-inch square pieces, which are great because then you can get a selection, and they do them in collections as well, which is very handy. Yeah, anyway, felt as your base. You want about 3-4 colours tops. I wouldn't suggest any more than 4 colours for one cat because it can get quite confusing, and you want to try and go within some kind of a colourway. If you're me, you will go all the colours. You could do natural colours. They don't have to be wild and kooky like mine are. They could be natural coloured cats. Let me find one. This is not particularly naturally coloured, but it's quite a muted for me cat. And he just has some stripes on him, and he's just made in the one colour. So he's got like a pumpkin. I don't know if it was pumpkin. Can't remember. No, it's just orange, and then a ginger, just made in those 2 colours, with a coral as like an accent colour. So you'd need small bits of accent colours as well. Anyway, pick your colours of the cat that you want. I will put a link to my pattern in the description box below so that you can go and grab yourself this one and you can make your cat from this. You could design your own even if you wanted to. But I've handily put some placements of the face on, because looking at this you might think the face goes in the middle. It kind of goes to one side, but that's just little handy hints you'll find on there. You will need some decent scissors. I've got a big pair of fabric scissors. These are Fiskars, and I've got a small pair of detail-y cutting scissors, which are also Fiskars. I don't think they do these ones anymore. They're the soft grip ones, and I love them. I've got about 5 pairs of these because I do like them for lots of different crafts, and I try and keep the scissors to the craft that they're used for. You will need some needles. So you'll need the needle with kind of a biggish eye in it, so that you can use the pearl threads that I tend to use to sew these together. 2 reasons this is really nice to work with, and it works really well with the felt. You can also use the stranded embroidery floss and strand it down to like 3 or 2 strands, whichever you find easiest to work with. And that's basically it. Additional optional things you might want: this felt and foam tacky glue is a great way to just add a dot to something so that you can position it. You could also use clips to hold your pieces together while you sew it, the little sewing clips. Let me see if I can grab those out. Have them somewhere close by. I've got a few in here just to show you. So those are handy too, to hold your pieces together. So what I suggest you do with your pattern first off is to stick it onto some cardboard to cut it out. Generally I use cereal packets for this because it's a perfect weight for cutting through. So these are all transferred onto the back of cereal packets like that. That's cornflakes packet base there. And you have 4 pattern pieces. You have your cat base, of which you'll need 2. You will need a contrasting colour for tail and back leg and for the face. And then this little bit here is the base that goes on the bottom of your cat. And you have to sew around that just to give it something to stand up with. So they can lean rather nicely on your shelves or wherever you want to put them. So yeah, transferring this onto your felt, the next thing you're going to need to do, and you're going to need something like a Madeira Magic pen, or Clover do a transferring pen as well. Failing all that, a ballpoint pen would work, but make sure you do it somewhere you can't see it. And for darker fabrics, I suggest one of these Signo broad pens that works really nicely just to get your pattern down. So if you're working on something like this galaxy colour, now that makes me want to eat chocolate. But yeah, if you're working on that, then the white pen works a little better. You can still see this one, I have to say, but when you get to the really darker ones like Bourneville or Black, that's probably the way to go. So the next thing you need to do then is to transfer these onto your felt and to cut out your pieces. And I, quite handily, she said, hopefully, I've already done that with the one that I'm going to do. I was using these. I don't think I was using the orange, but I have used the other 3 for this particular one that I'm going to do. And this one is going to be Autumn Cat. And here are all the pieces cut out. So I've cut out all the little pieces I need for his face. I've got the little inner bits for his ears. And I've got some little leaves I'm going to embellish as I stitch them on. This is the base, obviously, that one there. So all those pieces are all ready to cut out and to be sewn together. I have got a contrasting back, so I've gone with the face and the back leg and the second piece of the base here in this galaxy colour, and then we've got like a fern colour for the front, and then I've got some autumny cheeks and a nose, galaxy ears. makes me want the galaxy buttons now. And the base obviously in galaxy as well. And then we've got these little gingery coloured leaves that I'm going to stitch on there too. So the first thing you need to do, well, of all the other things I've told you, stitch wise, the first thing you need to do is to separate your back piece out, put that on one side, and all of these pieces will now need to be positioned correctly. Now I suggest you do the face bit first, so you could stitch those on, and how I do this is with an over sew stitch. So let me just grab my thread and I will show you how I attach those pieces. So the first thing I want to do is to get this nose in place, and I'm kind of eyeballing it to see where it goes. I'm going to hold it in place with my thumb, getting rid of all the little bits of fluff off it. And I'm coming in from the back, so I've knotted my thread. And what I'm going to do is an over sew stitch all the way around. It's a bit like a blanket stitch, but you don't have to bother with doing the blanket toppy bit. You can do it in blanket stitch if you like. I kind of like this one because it's a nice stitch for applique, especially felt, because you don't need to worry about it fraying at all. It's just going to stay exactly as it is when you cut it. So it's not going to fray, which is the one of the best reasons for using felt. Also, it means if you wanted to, you could do this with any of the younger varieties of human that you might have in your house. And they could have a go at theirs too. You'd have to watch over them, obviously, because we've got sharp needles involved, but I think it's a great way of learning how to put something together. But you don't have to have young humans in your house in order to make these. I love them. I love these cats. They just make me so happy when I look at a whole pile of them. And yeah, cats make me happy. So we have his nose in place, and what you're going to do is to attach all of your pieces in this way. I'm just fastening this off at the back here. So you will, on this piece, position your cheeks. I tend to have them a little lower down there, like so. And if we look at the one I've got here, he's got smaller cheeks for some reason. I don't know, I decided to do smaller ones. You can do whatever size you like. I have got some on the pattern for you to trace around and do whatever, but you can make them however you want them to. So for this one, he's got smaller cheeks, but he's got little French knot eyes. He's got some whiskers. And these are all things that I would do on this piece before I put it onto the base, if you see what I'm saying. So I'd get all these bits done and then put them on the base and then stitch this bit down. And that's the only piece that you'll need to do that with, because all the others are just like this one's a singular piece. The leaves you can stitch on and then just embellish as you go, which I'm going to do later on. But yes, if you want to overstitch the face, get all the details on it, stitch that on, stitch the ears on it. They're all stitched on in the same way. So it's just an over sew stitch all the way around. Once you've got your face and your ears in place, then I would, let me move that away just for a second, position your back leg and tail. Now this has to be right up against the edge of the piece, and for this particular one I wouldn't stitch all the way around these bits here, the bottom bit here and the bit just to there. I would only stitch around this bit here. The reason I would only do that is because, number one, the bottom bit there is going to be sewn to a base part, so you don't need to do that twice. And also this is going to be stitched through to the second part, so just from that particular point there all the way around there, la, 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 right down to the bottom, but ignore that side there because that will be stitched in at a later time, if you get my drift. So yes, that bit will go onto the base and that bit will be stitched into the back there. Let me grab this boy up here so you can see how he all goes together. It's all overstitched, so nothing complicated. If you're wanting to do the features on the face, like his face there, I do this as a couch stitch, and I will show you how to do this. I'm going to show you with this thread so that it shows up. I seem to be jumping about a little bit, don't I? But I'm just trying to explain to you how it all goes. Actually, I've already got some threaded. What am I doing? So to couch this down, and this is how I do it. You can do it exactly how you want to do it. If you want to do it a different way, please be my guest. We're going to imagine those cheeks are on. In fact, I'm going to use my little positioning glue just to hold those down, just so that I can show you. You don't have to use this. It is not at all compulsory, but it is a felt and foam tacky glue, and it works really well for kind of just holding things in place. So, how I would tackle the mouse, I would go here from the middle of his nosy and go to there on the cheek, and I leave it like that. Then I go back to the middle. I've not tied anything off, because this way you can adjust it if it goes a bit weird, like it did then. And then go to there. And what you're wanting to do is to, wait a minute, let me pull that through. Which one's the pull through? See, that's all gone all weird. So now, because I've not fastened anything off, I can just adjust it until I like the way his smile looks. So I'll adjust that one. Come here. Let's get your mouth in place. Like so. And then what you want to do, you can either do this with a singular thread, which is what I'd probably do of a similar colour, but because I've got this stitch on here, you're just going to couch over the top of it. This will show you better actually if I do it on here. So you're kind of just holding it in the place you want it to be and using a stitch to keep it in that place, and you need to go around all of his mouth to do that, to keep that in place, like so. You can see what I'm doing. Hope you can see. So stitching down his mouth. Pulling that up. You can hear the pigeons cooing outside. And yeah, so you'd continue on that in that manner until all of the mouth is stitched down like this one. So this one, I did it in a dark brown thread. This is a 3 strands of a floss, this one, because I actually found out I haven't got any pearl thread in the dark brown. Strange. I don't know what's happened to it. But then I've used 1 strand of the embroidery thread to couch it down so that you can't see it as much. But yes, that's one way of doing it. You could, if you wanted to, needle felt a mouth into there. If you're feeling handy and you've got a needle felting needle and you feel happy about doing that, that's also a way to go. The other way you could do it is with some split back stitch, so that you're going through the thread to get your, however you want to get your facial features on is fine with me. Also, if you've got any of those little black brads that I've shown you before, you could use those instead of the French knots for the eyes. So it's all down to choice of what you want it to be looking like. So now I want you to go away, people. Go away. To go away and to put on a podcast or put on some music or slap on the radio and have a fun stitching time getting all the pieces onto your cat. And I I think that's going to take you a short while to do that. And once you've done it, pop back here and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I am back having stitched all I need to stitch so far. So we've got his face, his ears. I stitched on the leaves on mine now. You can stitch whatever you want onto yours. I've shown you the cats. You can have stars, you can have pumpkins, bats, flowers, whatever you want to put on. But make sure that this part here is as clear as it can be, because what happens is we have to stitch on his front paws there and his legs. So if you can, try and keep that area as free as you can. It doesn't really matter if you encroach into it in some way or another, but the decorations just need to leave space so that you can add those things in, like this one here. So yes, the legs all stitched on. I've embellished the leaves. I've used some variegated green thread in order to do that. And now all we have to do is to put together the backing with the front. And then you can either pin or clip or tack your pieces together. And what happens here is with, you can either go with a contrasting thread. So you could go with the brown or this colour and join it together, or you could go with a colour that matches the front of the cat. And I think that's what I'm going to try and do with this one. I'm going to go with a matching colour to, well, as far as I can, to the foresty green colour that I've got on the front. Now, what happens is we're going to stitch from the point where the curve starts, so just there, and we're going to stitch right round to the point where the curve stops there. So it's going to go all the way around your cat. And I do this overstitched in the same way. You could do it blanket stitch if you wanted to. That is completely up to you. If you want a neater finish on both sides, it's fairly neat. It's not too bad at all. But if you want to blanket stitch it, that is completely your prerogative. So if you want to choose to do that, that's all well and good. Then obviously you're going to need some stuffing. Forgot to mention this particular bit, but you're going to need some toy stuffing, some polyester fill or whatever to pad out your cat. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can buy a bag of polyester filling, which I have. I've got quite a few bags, some small bits of bags. I've just ordered myself a huge bag, which should arrive tomorrow, because I've been making quite a few of these cats. But you can do it that way. If you've got a spare pillow or a cushion hanging around, you could actually slice into that and use the stuffing from that if you wanted to. I don't suggest you use cotton wool. It gets too lumpy, so don't. I know some people do pad things out with cotton wool. I also don't suggest you use things like batting and try and tear it apart, because it just makes it a very lumpy thing to hold. And when you hold these, you'll find out how squishable they are. They're just so nice. So if you've got the actual polyester filling, as I say, cushion filling will do the job if you haven't got any of the polyester filling. But that's a whole sewing's worth ahead yet. So the first thing you need to do, pick your colour of your thread and get yourself sewing from that point there all around to that point there, still doing the oversew stitch or a blanket stitch. And I'll be back here when that's completed. Okay, so my cat has been sewed together, both sides, and I have partially stuffed it with the filling. I have left a little bit space so that I can get in with my base, and what I'm going to do is going to leave a bit open so that I can continue to finish stuffing it before I finally close it up. So the base is probably it's not difficult, but it's the most difficult of all the different things, and that's not to say that any of them are difficult. You might find you need some clips or pins for this. I am using my clips because you know of my aversion to pins. So what you want to do is to try and find the corner, well, not the corners because there aren't none. It's an oval shape. So you're trying to get there and there. And then also on the other side, I'm going to do the same on this side as well. Actually, I'm going to pin it round first and then we'll see what we've got left to work with. So one clip there. And it's just a little bit of manoeuvring. It's not difficult, it's just when you're working with curves, it's always a little bit more, not complicated, but you know, a little bit more fiddling around to get it to fit. So there is about where I want that one. And then I'm going to bring this around here. So this is going to fit quite nicely. Clip that to there. Now I've left myself a gap for stuffing purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to over sew again, as I've done with all the other bits, over sew around the bottom, leaving myself a gap, finishing up with the stuffing and then continuing to over sew. And you want them to be nice and plump. You don't want them to be with gaps. You want them to be nice and squishy. That's what you're wanting from the feel of him. You don't want him to be too solid either, but you want him to be squishy enough, like this one. You want it to be squishy so that the bottom kind of squishes out a bit as well. Everyone wants a squishy bottom, don't they? So I'm going to go and sew the bottom of this up and then I'll be back to show you the finish up, which basically is just giving them a big hug. A big hug for your kitty cat. Anyway, off to sew. And here he is, all finished. He's got a bottom. He is well stuffed and he's squishy for cuddles. So he's all ready to sit on your shelf, sit on your desk, or have a little place on your sofa where you can give him a quick squeeze every now and again. Look at these two together. I've done them in different directions, which is something you can do as well. So if you wanted to do two and sit them together, then they kind of look really cute. On the pattern, you will have the leaf. You can just put some stripes on him if you want to do some triangles to make him a stripy cat. You could add in stars if you want to, or pumpkins or flowers or whatever it is that takes your fancy. But as I say, on the pattern you will just have the leafy pattern for your autumn cat. The way I'm going to get the pattern to you differs this time. The link to it will still be in my description, but I'm trying something new. I've had a Ko-fi or coffee page for a while. I don't know how you pronounce it, Ko-fi, whatever. And I have uploaded the PDF of the pattern to Ko-fi. So I'll put that link in the description. It gives you an option of payment, but it is available free if you want to just grab the pattern. But if you fancied giving me, I don't know, £1 or something, you know, that is completely up to you. I'm not going to put any limit on or price on it, but that's where it will be for you, available to download so that you can make your own Kooky Kat cushion. And this one, I'm really loving him in his autumn colours. I've made lots of very, very bright and vibrant ones, and he's not subdued. He's still nice and vibrant, but more autumnal. You could make one for each of the seasons, really, couldn't you? Anyway, that's enough from me today. I will see you back here very soon with something else. Bye for now.